Hello our China phone readers and welcome to my first video review. You've possibly read some of my text reviews on the subreddit already, but this time I thought why not change it up a bit and go for a video review. So be sure to let me know if you like it or if you think I should just stick to text reviews. Today we're looking at the 100 Plus V6, or its more popular name, the Kolina K100 Plus. Now the first thing you might say when you look at this phone is, well, it's an iPhone clone. And I wouldn't say you were wrong, but I wouldn't say you were right either, because while it takes a lot of cues from the iPhone, you can see this by the rounded edges and the metal back, it does give its own spin on things. Like, it has some quirks of that the other phone, that the iPhone doesn't have. So we'll talk about design later. So right now, the reason I bought this phone is because, well, it was so cheap for what you'd get. I saw this phone in my regular China phone store, and it was like 170 bucks. It came to 145 euros with shipping included. And these specs, I mean, these specs would have been considered flagship specs just 6 months ago or something. So I thought, well, it can be that good for that price. And at the time I knew someone who needed a new phone, so I thought I'll just get this one and I'll see if it's any good. If it's any good, I can sell them the phone. If it's not, well, I'll keep it, and I know that this is not a viable phone to sell here. And I got it, and I played around with it for a little bit, and I've come to the conclusion that it's a pretty good phone, actually. We'll go over some of the quirks it has in the rest of the video, and you'll see why I say that. So first, let's talk about the design a little bit. We've already gone over the fact that it looks a lot like the iPhone, and we'll just, we'll go more into detail about all the design choices that 100 Plus made on this phone. Like, first we'll look at the front, where you see it's just a nice single pane of glass with a microphone and a front-facing camera here. It's got these rounded edges. Like, at the front, it just would need a home button here, and it would look like that will look exactly like an iPhone. But it has a capacitive buttons over here. You can't see them now because they aren't lit up. So let's go to the back. In the back here we have a very nice metal finish. I think this is one of the best features of the phone. It has a metal finish, and it's very smooth. It's very cool to the touch. I really like it. I really like it a lot. You have the 13 megapixel camera here, microphone, and an LED flash, which have I don't know if you can see it in the video properly, but it has a champagne finish around it, like the same color as its logo. At the edges we have the 3.5mm jack over here. We have a SIM tray over here. It holds 2 micro SIM cards, so it's dual SIM. You have to use a little pin which is provided in the box to open it up. Right here we'll look at this side first. Right here we have the volume rocker and the power button, which are both metal too. They feel really nice. They click nicely. And over here we have the microphone and the USB port. Now the USB port is the only part of the design that isn't really finished, because the edges here aren't polished, so they're pretty jaggy, and you can't cut yourself, but they I don't know how to describe it. They don't feel very nice to the touch, but I mean, you're not always sliding your finger up and down the USB port like I'm doing right now, so it doesn't really bother anyone. Speaker over here, I already said that. So yeah, design, very simplistic, very minimalistic, but very nice too. Like, people will mistake this phone for an iPhone, so that can happen, but overall, I really like this design. I would consider using this as my phone. I wouldn't mind having a phone that looks like this. It's pretty nice. So next we'll go on with the UI. So to talk about the UI, we'll need to turn it on first. Let's hold the power button for a few seconds here. There we go. The 100 Plus logo pops up. Take a minute. There we go. Oh, I'll just cut this out. Now, one of the main problems with this phone, one of the main letdowns, is the fact that it's still on Android 4.2 Jelly Bean, so it's not KitKat yet. And while that is, for some of us, a problem because we like the new features, like the smartwatch features that KitKat brings, and there's a lot of stuff that comes and goes with it. I don't seem to mind that much. It's a ROM. It's very close to the stock Android ROM, so not many problems there. No custom stuff that don't work half the time. Not a lot of Chinese bloatware apps. So that's okay, but it's too bad that they haven't, gone with the time. They provide such a nice phone with such nice features, and then they go with an older Android operating system. So that's too bad. But I've already asked the person that I'm probably going to sell this to, and she didn't mind. I mean, she doesn't even follow like all the updates on Android, and it's 4.2 was pretty stable, so she won't really have any problems with it. Now, I don't think anyone else will. And for this price, well, you can make some sacrifices. And for people who don't like to make sacrifice on the camera department or the specs department, on the power department, they can live with an older operating system. So let's look what we have here. See a very nice picture of my cat in the background, but yeah, it's a very standard ROM. You can see it's still on the stock launcher. Looks very normal. We got the app drawer here with all installed apps and the widgets. So that's pretty normal. Let's just go through some of the standard apps that come on everything. We can look at the settings. Oh, that's the Play Store. Settings here, we all know these. Look normal. We can check the legitness. Yeah, there we go. Android Jelly Bean. Control around these. So yeah, we all know that. We can take a look at the gallery app. So yeah, we know this one. Just go to the images, and now I can show you one of the main features of this phone. One of the main marketing points of this phone, which is that it has a back touch capability. So right here in the back there's a small square which is touch sensitive, and so if you swipe your finger across it, you can control all kinds of apps. So let's test it out in the launcher at first. The reason I'm going to show you in the launcher because it doesn't always work. I found that when you're holding your phone vertically, it doesn't work as well as when you hold your phone horizontally. Like right here, I'm going to swipe my finger, and you can see I'm not touching the screen. The screen is moving on its own because I'm swiping right here on the back. But it's not always as accurate as you think. Right now you can see I swiped multiple times, and it didn't swipe every time. So the reason for the feature is because when you're holding your phone with one hand, and this is a 5.5-inch screen, it's really hard to always keep your thumb on the screen, especially for people with smaller hands than me. So they can just, touch the back to go left and right, but right now you see it didn't work multiple times. So it isn't always as accurate as you'd want it to be. But I found that, let's look at the gallery app here. When you're in the gallery, it works a lot better. You can see it almost registers every swipe I make. Almost every swipe I make. Yeah, we started the video there. It wasn't intentional. You can also tap on the back to select stuff, so that's probably what happened there. But yeah, you can see it doesn't work every time, so that's too bad. But when it works, it's pretty nice. What else do we have? No, I think that's it for the UI. It's a pretty standard 4.2 UI. So next, let's look at the performance. Now, for the performance of this phone. Let me tell you, for the price I paid for it, which is less than 150 euros, it's just unbelievable. I mean, the specs of this phone are magnificent. They would have been magnificent if the phone cost 200 euros, but it costs 140 euros, and it's already great. Let's open up CPU-Z to look at the insides. Right here we can see that it has a turbo version of the MTK 6592. Runs at 2 GHz. 8 cores, blah blah blah. They aren't working. Oh, look, they all jumped to life right now. This is all pretty good. We see the brand name over here, the model name, Android version. Right here we can see it has 2 gigs of RAM, which is really nice. Full HD screen. Screen size, I don't know why it says 4.5, because you can clearly see it's 5.5. Yeah, CPU-Z isn't always as accurate as it makes out to be. So yeah, oh, advertisement. We can see that, you know, the specs are really nice, and now we can put them to the test with Antutu. You can see that we get a pretty high score, but I'll just run it again right now because this is a score that was taken right when it came out of the box, and you know, maybe that's not that accurate, so we'll just test it again. I'll speed it up for you guys. So there we go. Oh wow, came out even higher than last time. That's the first time I see that happening, but yeah, that was a system update in between these two. So I guess it's possible. Well, a score of 33,000. That's probably mostly because of the CPU power though. Because an octa-core running at 2 GHz, well, it can move a lot of numbers, let me tell you that. So you can just you know, see the individual test results here. Yeah, as we thought, CPU integer and CPU floating point already make out 9,000 points as of themselves, so that's pretty impressive. Yeah, so let's see where it is ranked. Right here, right above the HTC One and right below the LG G3. So that's pretty impressive for a 140 euro phone. But, you know, benchmarks don't say everything by themselves, so let's look at some games right now, see how they run. We can start by playing some Fruit Ninja. It's not the most intensive game in the Play Store market, but it can give us an image of how powerful it is. So let's just go for classic mode or arcade mode right here. Whoops. So yeah, it's plain to see that the game runs without any slowdown whatsoever. There's really nothing I can say here that's wrong with it. Runs really well. But yeah, it would be pretty bad if Fruit Ninja wouldn't run well. So let's just exit out of this and move on to a more demanding game, which is Asphalt 8. This game is pretty demanding, so according to this we'll see there's not many games on the Android Play Store that are more demanding than this game. So we can see how well it performs. It's always been known that NTK chips have less powerful graphical chips than their competitors, but they've been updating, and I think on this chip, on this octa-core MTK 6592, it's pretty good actually. I haven't really found any octa-core phones with noticeable slowdown. Like, they don't all run at 60 frames per second, but they run pretty well. Let's just see here. So as you can see, we're actually running pretty well here. I wouldn't say it's 60 frames per second, but it's pretty close. Whoops. So yeah, you can see that it's pretty powerful. Like, we're running at 1080p, we're running at the medium graphics inside the game, and we're getting pretty nice speeds. There's no slowdown whatsoever, actually. No lag. So, yeah, I think this is pretty good. Yeah, we've seen enough of this right now, so I just quit out of that as well. So yeah, you can all see the performance on this phone is pretty good. Like, not much to add here. So when we move on, we'll just go over some of the features I like and some of the niggles on the phone that I don't like. Well, moving on. I said we're going to talk about features, but that will be a pretty short talk, because apart from the back touch, which we've already discussed, there aren't many features to speak of. It's a very plain phone. It has some very, very nice specs. We've already gone over that. But apart from that, it's a pretty standard phone. It has your basic functionalities. It doesn't have any NFC. It doesn't have LTE. It doesn't have any really special stuff. No, not really. So I'll show you some camera samples in the video right now. I'll add those in post-production. And right now we'll just go over some of the niggles that I have with it. So first and foremost, there is the fact that you can't turn off the back touch. This has really annoyed me in using the phone. There isn't a setting anywhere that turns off the back touch functionality. So if you're inside an app that doesn't support it or such, if you touch the back side, it'll interpret it as a normal screen touch. And so in some apps you don't notice it, in other apps this has really annoying consequences. So you can change it if you're rooted. I haven't rooted this phone yet, but if you're rooted you can change the setting inside the build file. So that's possible, and I've already read that there is like one custom ROM for this phone, and the only difference with this ROM is that it has a setting added for changing the setting, for changing the back touch, for turning it off. So it is possible. What else do we have? We have the fact that there's also a minor niggle, but it's there, so I'll just, out of honesty, right here you can see that the underside of this screen is a little lighter than the rest. That's because there is some amount of backlight bleeding on this phone. Right here, you can see it. It's like an uneven source of whiteness. I don't know how to call it. But yeah, it's present in most apps that have a black background. You can see that there's a small lighter border here. It only really shows up in dark apps, like right here in the home screen you can't see it, or right here in the app drawer. But then again, when we're opening the gallery, it shows up again. You can see it. I've already asked the person that I'm going to sell the phone to, and they don't mind. They didn't even see it until I like pointed out, like, look, it's right there. So you have to make out for yourself. Do you really care about that? I personally don't, but I can completely understand if you do. Also, this phone has a really big battery. At least that's what shows in the specs. It has a 3150 mAh battery, if we can believe the specs, and I do believe them. But the phone isn't that optimized, so I think the only reason it has that big of a battery is because if it had a normal battery, it wouldn't last long enough. This phone lasts a day and a half on normal use and 2 days on light use, so that's not bad, but with such a big battery, I would have expected a little more, at least 3 days. But still, you can go 2 days without recharging your phone. That's better than my own Oppo Find 7 does. So, bravo for them. So, let's go to the conclusion right now. We've pretty much gone over everything. Maybe one thing left, the data connection. As you can see right here, I don't have any bars at the moment. That's because I live in a very agricultural area. We don't have a lot of signal towers. In cities, the 3G reception is a lot better, but I haven't had any problems with it yet, really. Even with no bars, it usually goes back to another frequency, or it just pops up. I don't know, maybe this sensor bar here isn't doing its job right, or maybe there's something else, but most of the time I get 3G reception. As a matter of fact, let's test it out right now. I'll turn the Wi-Fi off. I'll turn data connection on. It's turned on. Let's just wait. Oh, it says H+. So let's see here. We'll just Google something real quick. There we go. So you see, even with just one bar, the internet is pretty fast on the data connection. So no problems there either. I'm pretty glad about that. That's often a problem in China phones, that reception isn't that good. On this one, it's adequate. So for the rest, I think we can conclude that this is a really good phone for the price, like almost unbelievably good. It's so cheap, it's so powerful. It has a nice design, it has a nice metal back, which is very rare for phones in this price range. I don't think I know a single phone under 200 euros that has a metal back. Yeah, it's a little low on features, but you can't expect a lot from this price, and we've already gotten a lot. I think this is the best phone in this price range, so unless you're really opposed to having an iPhone look-alike as a phone, I'd say if you're looking for one, and you have this budget, then go for it, just get this one. I've been very glad with it. I think the person who I'm giving it to is going to be very glad with it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let me know if you liked the review, if you liked the phone. If you have any questions, be sure to ask them. And I see you next review.